3 years ago, I almost burned my business to the ground. I was walking back to the dinner table and I had stepped away to take yet another client call, and I heard my daughter ask my husband a question. She didn't know I was listening. She said, "Why is mom always working?" She didn't ask me, she asked him. Like I wasn't even available enough to ask directly. And something inside me in that moment completely broke. I wanted to end it all, shut down the business, go get a real job, because this is not what I had built my business for. I had built a multi-six-figure business, but by every measure I was successful, but somewhere along the line, I had started to make decisions that pulled me further and further off the trajectory of what I actually wanted. I wasn't present. I wasn't available. I was stressed and overwhelmed. I snapped at my kids way too quickly and way too often. I rushed through conversations when they wanted my full attention. I rushed through those moments that I can never get back. I wasn't showing my family that they were the priority, even though they were the entire reason I started this business in the first place. So I had a choice in that moment. Burn it all down, or figure out how to keep growing my business and actually be there for my family. It was a big experiment from day one. And if that tension sounds familiar to you, please keep watching, because I'm going to show you exactly why you are stuck, and more importantly, how I got out and how you can too. I'm Lauren Apple, and I'm a scaling strategist for CEO parents, and I help you build businesses that give you both profit and presence. Not one or the other, both. Because you shouldn't have to choose. I refuse to. Let's get into it. So here's what I want you to know today. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. You're not bad at business. You're not bad at being a parent. You're not broken. You're just stuck in a zone that requires a different solution than the one that you have been trying, and the one that maybe other people suggest for you. So let me explain. After that moment with my daughter, I became obsessed with figuring out why some CEO parents break free and others stay trapped. And I've now worked with hundreds of CEO parents, and I've noticed a pattern. There are 4 zones we move through as CEO parents, and most of us get stuck because we're trying solutions that work for a different zone than what we're actually in. It's like trying to run a marathon when you actually need physical therapy for your knee. The effort is real. The intention is good, but you're solving the wrong problem. So let me ask you something. When someone asks you, "How are you doing?" what do you say? "I'm so busy. I'm slammed. I'm drowning. I'm exhausted." Does that sound familiar? Now let me ask you something harder. If I gave you 10 free hours this week, what would you do with them? If you can't answer that clearly, we need to talk about zone 1. If you know exactly what you do with those 10 hours, but you can't imagine actually having those hours, then we need to talk about zone 2. And if you'd use them to finally document all the stuff in your head, we need to talk about zone 3. And if you'd use them to train someone who's already waiting to help you, then you're in zone 4. So let me walk you through each of these zones. And I'm not just going to give you a bunch of definitions and explain things to you. I'm going to help you see yourself inside these zones. So let's jump in. Zone 1. I call this the clarity zone. And I've lived here for longer than I'd like to admit. Here's what zone 1 feels like. You wake up already behind. You spend your whole day reacting to what happens to you. You're putting out fires. You're responding to whatever feels the most urgent at the time. You are busy every single minute. And by the end of the day, you could not tell me what you actually accomplished. Someone asks you what your goals are and you say something vague like, "I want to grow my business," or "I want to get more organized," or "I want to reach this revenue goal." But if they push you on what that actually means, you don't really know. You just know you're drowning. And you know that you need to find a way to get out. Here's the painful truth about zone 1. You cannot delegate your way out of it. You can't hire your way out of it. You can't buy a course or a system or invest in a person or a tool that will fix it for you. Because the problem isn't that you need more help. The problem is you don't know what you're building towards. When I was in zone 1, I kept saying I needed a virtual assistant. But if you had asked me what that VA was actually going to do for me, I couldn't tell you. Everything felt urgent. Everything felt important. I couldn't separate what mattered from what was just noise. What zone 1 actually needs is clarity. You need to figure out what you want. Not what you should want. Not what other people tell you what you want or what they want for you. What you actually want. What does success look like for you specifically? What life are you trying to build? What matters most? That's zone 1 work. If you go back to a previous video I have about reflection questions for 2026, you will get some deeper questions that might help you figure out what you actually want if you're stuck here in zone 1. You can't skip it. You need to figure out what you want. Zone 2. I call this the capacity zone. This is where most CEO parents get stuck, and it's the most frustrating place to be. Here's what zone 2 feels like. You have clarity. You know what you want. You can see it so clearly. And you want to be done by 4 so you can be present with your kids. You want to take Fridays off maybe. You want to actually enjoy your business again. You know exactly what you're building towards, but you have 0 space to make it happen. Every single decision runs through you. Every client needs you specifically. Every problem requires your attention. You are working 50, 60, 70 plus hours a week, and you are the bottleneck for everything. And here's the trap. You think the answer is to hire help. If I just had a VA, if I just had some support, then I could get out of this. So you hire someone, and for about 3 days, it feels like relief. Finally, help. But then reality hits. They're asking for 47 questions a day, right? They're asking you so many questions a day. What do you want me to do? Where does this go? Is this right? You're spending more time explaining than you are just doing it yourself. So you take the task back and you think, I guess delegation just doesn't work for me or for my business. But here's what actually happened. You tried to delegate before you were ready. You hired someone into your chaos. And chaos with an assistant is still chaos. Zone 2 doesn't need more people. Zone 2 needs margin. You need to remove what doesn't have to be done, optimize what's left, and create some breathing room. So that when you do bring in help, there's actually something for them to plug into. I spent 18 months in zone 2, spinning, trying every productivity hack that I could come across, buying every course, hiring and firing people, and nothing worked. Until I realized I was solving the wrong problem. Zone 2 is your capacity. Zone 3. I call this the systems zone. Here's what zone 3 feels like. You've created some clarity. Awesome. Zone 1 checked off. You've created some margin. Awesome. Zone 2 checked off. You can finally breathe. You know what needs to happen in your business and you know when it needs to happen. You even have some time to think. But everything still lives in your noggin, in your head. Your processes aren't documented. Your systems aren't repeatable. If you got sick for 2 weeks, everything would fall behind. You know what you'd want to hand off. But you don't have anything organized enough to actually hand it over. Zone 3 sounds like this. I know exactly what I need to delegate. I just don't have time to train someone. Every time I try to hand something off, I end up doing it myself because it's so much faster and easier. It's all in my head and I can't figure out how to get it out. Here's the thing about zone 3. You're actually close. Closer than you realize, like really close. You just need to get what's in your head out of your head. Document it, templatize it, systematize it, so someone else can actually do it without you explaining it every time. Zone 3 is systems work. And once you do it, you are ready for zone 4, which is what we all think that we need to start with. Zone 4, I call this the support zone. And this is where the magic happens. Here's what zone 4 feels like. You have clarity on what you want. You have capacity to think and lead. You have systems that are documented and repeatable. Now you just need the right people. Zone 4 is the only zone where hiring actually works. Because when you bring someone in at this stage, they have something to plug into. They're not walking into chaos. They're walking into systems. They can be independent. They can make decisions on their own. They can protect what matters to you. This is where I am right now. I have an EA who protects my 4 p.m. laptop close like it's her own boundary. She doesn't schedule calls at 4:30 just because a client asks nicely. She protects my time because she understands what I'm protecting. And that only works because I did the zone 1, 2, and 3 work first. So here's what I need you to hear today. You cannot skip zones. I know you want to. I know it's so tempting. I know you're desperate for relief. I know hiring someone feels like the fastest path out. And a lot of times it's what a lot of business coaches suggest. But if you're in zone 1 or 2 and you try to hire, it will fail. Not because you're bad at delegation. Not because the person you hired was wrong. Because you're trying a zone 4 solution for a zone 2 problem. That's why I turn away 40% of people who come to me wanting an EA. They're not ready. And I'd rather tell you the truth than take your money and watch it fail. And I don't actually turn them away. I give them another solution to where they are. So where are you? Let me help you figure it out. If you can't clearly articulate what you're building toward and everything else feels equally urgent, you're probably in zone 1. You need clarity first. If you know exactly what you want, but you have zero margin to make it happen and you're the bottleneck for everything in your business, you're in zone 2. You need to create capacity. If you have some clarity and some margin, but everything lives in your head and nothing is documented, you are in zone 3. You need systems. If you have clarity, capacity, and systems, and you just need the right person to plug in, then you are in zone 4. Now you're ready to hire. Here's what I want you to take away from this. There's hope. This is fixable. You are not stuck forever. You can have both profit and presence, but you have to do the work in order. That's how I went from overhearing my daughter ask why mom is always working to closing my laptop at 4 p.m. every single day. From rushing through moments to protecting my Friday afternoons for pickleball with that same daughter and movies with my teenage son. From running a business that was pulling me away from my family to running one that lets me be fully present. My daughter doesn't ask that question anymore because she already knows the answer. Mom's right here. And it didn't happen by accident. It happened by working through the zones and figuring out what those zones were. I did a lot of the legwork for you, so you can do it too. If you want help figuring out which zone you're in and what to do about it, I share frameworks like this every week in my weekly emails. Link to sign up is in the description below. And if you're watching this thinking, I need someone to help me see what I can't see, that's what my coaching is all about. That link is also in the description as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week.